Well, I'm back again. I think your teacher will be back on this Thursday, but it might be me again, so who knows?
Okay.
But I'm excited to be back in class with you both because I really enjoyed last week.
Yeah.
So my name is Allison, again, in case you don't remember. And today we're just going to pick up where we left off on Thursday. But I want to make sure we start, and we actually do this one this time. So the 3 new English words that you hear while we're talking, while we're reading, while we're listening, if you'll just write them down in your notebook, and we'll talk about them at the end of class. Just again, because every day you should be learning new words, and so this is a good way to keep track of it. And then one question that you have for me at the end of class, whether it's about English, whether it's about grammar, whether it's about anything we talk about, just a question so we can talk a little bit. Does this make sense? Yeah? So yeah, just any word that you hear that's new, just write it down, and then we'll pick your top 3.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so today I would love to start a little bit, talking about your weekends, how yesterday was, because we talked at the end of the last class for about 45 minutes in English, so we're going to start for about 5 minutes, just have a little conversation just to get warmed up, and then we'll start with some reading like we did last time. So Elizabeth, what did you do yesterday?
Yesterday, I wake up early because my sister called me, and I pick up with her for the she fixing her car.
You picked her up?
Yeah.
Because she was getting her car fixed?
Yes.
Okay.
And I went to my house, and I cooking some food for all.
For everyone?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the supermarket.
Okay.
I bought some food.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's it.
What did you buy?
I buy vegetables and some meat and cereal.
And were you shopping for the entire week?
No.
Just for one day or 2 days?
No, it's for a few days.
A few days? Okay.
Yeah.
How many times a week do you go to the supermarket?
A week.
Once a week?
Once a week.
Okay. And do you go to H-E-B?
Yes, and
H-E-B, okay.
it's more cheap.
More affordable, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Anna, what did you do yesterday?
Cleaning my house.
You cleaned your house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Playing my daughter.
You played with your daughter?
Yeah, my daughter is no school this week.
Oh, right.
Yeah, vacation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And cleaning the bedroom.
Sorry?
Cleaning my house and the bedroom.
The bedroom, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the play my daughter a little.
Yeah, to play with you? Yeah.
The softball.
Softball?
Yeah, softball. Football. They have played the ball.
Nice.
Yeah, and cooking.
Mm-hmm.
The afternoon, the cooking.
And cooking, and what did you cook?
Rice and soup, the beans.
Beans?
Nice.
Did you
get tortilla.
And tortilla. I was thinking of you ladies when I was at the H-E-B a few days ago. I was like, wow, the ladies in my class, they make their own tortillas. They're so cool. Okay, all right. So it sounds like you had some good days yesterday. It was a good day. Yeah?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. And so we'll get started with our in our workbooks on page 20. So we're just gonna get started. We're gonna do exercises A, B, C, and D. But after each one, we'll take a break and talk about it. So for exercise A, just underline the correct word. We'll take just a few minutes to do this one, and then we'll talk about it. Are you still working on A? Do you have any questions about it?
No.
Anna, do you have any questions?
No.
You good? Okay. 5 for section A?
Mm-hmm.
And Anna, have you finished number 5?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so just as a quick grammar overview for what we're doing with this today. So when I think about grammar, when I was learning Spanish, this is something that was really helpful for me for conjugating verbs. So if this is helpful for you, please use it, but if not, this is just something that I think might be helpful for you. You can disregard it if it's not. So when I think about verbs, I always see them in this chart. So I see them singularly and plurally. So this is the pronoun. So our singular pronouns are I, you, he, she, and it. Can you see this okay? You can read it okay. And then plural, the plural of I is we. Of you, we would say vosotros, but we don't use that. And then, or y'all. Have you guys heard y'all here in Texas? So you, y'all. And then he, she, it. We'll put y'all, you all, and they down here. So does the singular plural make sense for what is singular, as in just one person is I, and then we is 3 I's together. So with this chart, this is what I did here. So the am responds to I here. So we're talking in the future tense, that's what this chapter is about. So this is a good thing to write down if you are doing an exercise like this. It's an easy way to reference, so you can keep in mind what your options are for the answers. So I am, you are, he, she, or it is, we are, skipping that one, and then you all are or they are. Do you have questions about this? Is this helpful? Is it more confusing this way? Okay, so again, that's just there for you if that's helpful as a grammatical tool.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so Elizabeth, let's start with number 1. Please read it.
Housework.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. I am going to look for a new job.
Great. Anna?
What is Jeffrey I going to work? He is I going to work then restaurant next to school.
Which one did you choose?
Is
He is. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Okay, Elizabeth?
When is he going to begin?
Mm-hmm.
Next Thursday.
Great. Anna?
is no. Are you going to look for job online? Yes, I am.
Good job. And Elizabeth, number 5.
Is Sheila and Jackie going to look at the classified section of the newspaper? Yes, they are.
So which one did you choose for 5?
Is
Yeah,
It is. Yes. It's hard. And why? Why is it R?
because it's 2 people.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. If it were just Sheila, it would be is.
Are.
Oh,
It's R.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
this is the tricky one. So you have Sheila and
And
Jackie.
Jackie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So if it were just Sheila, it would be is. So you're right. But because it's they,
Yes.
it's R.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Good job. Did you start working on B as well? You finished B, didn't you, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Anna, are you still working on B? You still? Sure. Yeah. We'll take a few minutes and just raise your hand when you're done with B.
Okay.
section B? Or read?
Emilio is going to play New York because he like the one he has now.
So you said he is going to?
Yeah.
So you're correct with the conjugation, so you're right. It is he is, that's the right one. But in the context of the sentence, he likes the job he has now. So will he look for a new job or will he keep the one that he has?
He has.
Elizabeth, what did you have for number one?
Emilio isn't going to apply for a new job because he likes the one he has now.
And can you explain why you chose isn't?
Because he's work right now.
He has a job
Yeah.
and he likes it.
Yeah.
So he's not going to apply for a new one.
No.
Does that make sense? It's okay if it doesn't. We can talk more about it. So you are correct. Your grammar is right, Anna. You're right with your grammar,
Okay.
which is good. It's just the context of the sentence is that he's not going to apply. Okay. Okay, so Anna, can you tell me why it's, so can you read number one again and with the right answer?
Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Emilio isn't going to play a new job because he like the one he has now.
Yes. And can you tell me why it's isn't? Or can you just explain why it is not? It's confusing to say it out loud. So can you explain to me why the answer is isn't?
Maybe for a job different.
Mm-hmm. So maybe a better way I can ask you the question is, which part of the sentence tells you that he is not going to apply for a new job?
A new job.
Okay, so let's see. So, will you underline because the phrase that says because he likes the one he has now? Just underline it, starting at because he likes the one he has now. There you go. So that's how you know that it is isn't instead of is. Okay. So if we look in your book right here, so if it says Emilio, if we didn't have this part of the sentence right here, the because, we didn't have that phrase.
Oh, this is for, and then application for no job, yes. Como nadie está trabajando.
So I think I've made this more complicated than it needs to be for you. So you originally said is, right?
Yeah.
That was your first answer. And so that is correct if this were not here.
Not better because.
Yes.
Oh,
But because we have this phrase,
yes.
because he likes the one he has now, he isn't going to apply for a new job. So this is correct.
Yeah.
You were right. I'm just trying to explain why
Okay.
this part of the sentence changes this from is to isn't. So let's say okay, take this part off. Then it's is.
Oh, yes.
But because we have that phrase at the end, because, he is not going to apply for the job. Elizabeth, can you read number 2?
Reina and Fidelia are going to volunteers at the food bank because they want to help other people.
Good. And why is it R?
Because there's Reina and Fidelia.
Exactly. Alright, Anna, number 3.
Maria and Luz are going to look for job online because they don't have computer.
Okay, so this is another one that's similar to the first one.
These are the Maria and Luz.
So you're correct for the R. So, yes, R. So this is the correct conjugation, but in this sentence, they are not going to look for a job. So the reason they aren't going to look for a job online is because they don't have a computer.
Negative.
It's negative. Mhm. So,
Because they don't have a computer.
Aren't.
so again, you chose the right conjugation. So you did a really good job with that. So you got this one correct. That's the hardest part. And then it's just the context of the sentence. So again, if we take off this last phrase here, we take off starting with if this were gone. Maria and Luz are going to look for a job online. That's correct. But because they don't have a computer, they are not going to look online. So this one it's complicated. It's not just grammatical, it's also the context of the sentence. So, but you did a really good job getting the conjugation right.
Okay.
All right, Elizabeth, number 4.
Jing is going to check the college course catalog. They see if she can register next week.
And why did you choose is?
Because it's one person.
We aren't going to meeting because she has a class that sometime.
Did you say are?
Yeah. Aren't.
Aren't.
Oh,
Okay, so for this one, you got the negative right, but the conjugation is wrong. Okay, so that's good. So, Wei is just one person, and you can tell because
it's
you see the word she in the sentence. So, here, that's how you know is. But you were correct in that it's a negative. She isn't going. And why isn't she going? So which part of the sentence tells
Yeah.
you? Because she has class at the same time. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so read it one more time. Number 5, Anna.
Number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Wait isn't going to meeting because she has the class at the same time.
Good job. And can you tell me why the correct answer is isn't?
Singing the because something.
Yes. Okay. Elizabeth, number 6.
Cheng and me are going to the temp agency to look for office assistant jobs.
And why did you choose R? Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. What questions do you have about that exercise? Questions?
No, only confusion negative.
And you had all the way the questions are ordered. Every one you read was the negative one, so you had a little more of a challenge to read, but that's good. That's good practice. Okay. All right. So let's work on exercise C. And Elizabeth, have you already completed C and D?
I think
That's great. So I'm gonna have you start reading a little bit. So if you will go to page, in your textbook, page 52. No, Anna, you're still working on that. This is just because Elizabeth is a little bit ahead. But no rush, Anna, don't rush at all.
52?
52? Mm-hmm. You see this called the trove in blue?
Mm-hmm.
So you can just, we're gonna read all of that. So you can just start and underline any words that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great. And Anna, when you're finished with C, just raise your hand.
Okay.
first sentence in exercise C.
On Trace and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to visit the job fair tomorrow at school.
What did you say for the answer?
I'm going to visit and
Okay,
we going.
so you said am? Is this what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, this is the, if it were just the I, you would be correct.
Yeah.
But it's Terrence and I, so it's we.
We.
So which one would it be? Up here. So it's the plural. So it would be are.
We are.
Mm-hmm. Anna, what did you have for number 1?
Dress and visit the job for tomorrow's school. There will law of company that went to get a job.
No, what answer did you put down for number 1? What did you write?
Visit. Just going to visit.
Which of these did you choose?
I go and visit.
Yeah, so you and Melissa put the same answer down. So if you put am, but it's actually Terrence and I, so it's we. So we is over here.
Yeah.
So are.
We are visiting.
Yes, we are going to visit. So for all of these answers, the construction of it is going to be like this. I just used it as a sentence. Okay. Blank. Going to blank. So for here, so for this answer, they're all gonna come from here.
Mm-hmm.
And then this blank is provided for you in the exercise. So we call it an infinitive verb. We'll just call it the verb for now. Okay, so let's do the first sentence again, Elizabeth. Can you read it?
Tere and I are going to visit the job for a fair tomorrow at school. There will be
You can keep reading. Yeah, it's good practice.
there will be a lot of companies there.
Mm-hmm. Want to keep going?
That
Can you keep reading?
we want to get a job in the telecommunication
Telecommunications. Good.
We both have experience pulling cable in Mexico.
Perfect. All right, Anna. What do you have for number 2?
They are going about office job and fun.
Okay, so let's see. You said are. Is this what you picked?
Yeah.
Okay. So Terrence. If we're talking about Terrence, we would say he. Correct.
Yeah.
So he's right here. So which one would it be over here? Which verb?
No.
That would be if I were talking about you.
Yeah.
So if I'm so you is are. So he, Terrence. Which one is
And-
he?
Is.
This one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we have our sentence construction here. So you've got your verb. He is going to, and then what's the verb provided?
As.
Perfect. So let's put it off. You can
Is.
change your answer and we'll read it all together.
Tere is going as about of the job
Is going to ask.
is going to.
Yes. Perfect. Alright. Elizabeth, number 3.
I'm going to find out about a job for installers or project managers.
Okay. And why did you choose I am? you ready for the fourth one? You want to read that one?
About John Stanley, project manager, really no job. I tried hard to get no job,
So did you say we are trying?
I tried.
So you're correct. It's just that we're looking for a different verb form here. So you said we are. Did you say are? We are.
We are trying.
Yeah. So you got the are is correct. So good job with that. And the sentence you're saying, we are trying to get a new job, is correct.
Oh,
But what the exercise is looking for is just this construction of the verb.
I tried.
So you did it right. So we have are. So we are going to, and then what's the verb here?
Try.
Try.
Yes. So they're both correct. They're both correct, which is great. So you said we are going to try to get a new job. Correct. But you also said we are
going
trying
try.
to get a new job. It's also correct. So you are right. Yes. For this specific,
I will try
yes,
a new job.
to get a new job. Yes. So for this exercise, they wanted you to do the
No,
going to try.
We are going to try.
Because they're, and of course in English and in Spanish we have multiple ways of saying the same thing. So correct, you're correct on both accounts, so good job. Okay. So, let's see. Alright, so our last exercise is gonna be letter D. Elizabeth, if you've already finished D, you can just keep reading the trove and keep working on. Have you already finished that one?
No.
You're working on. Okay. Okay. So we'll take. You don't understand?
No.
Okay. Wow. Well, let's explain it. Okay. So we have 6 mistakes in this paragraph
Yes,
that we need to find. So
yeah.
they've already corrected 1, so that you really just have 5 mistakes to find. So what might be helpful is I'll read this out loud and then you can go back and read it by yourselves, because with this I think it's a good example of how sometimes things just sound wrong when you hear them, and maybe it'll be easier to pick up on the mistakes that way. So if you want to put your pencils down and just listen and see what sounds weird to you, we'll go with that. So I'll read this 2 times. So, Enrique works in a factory. He works at night and takes English classes in the morning. He wants a new job. He is going to talk to a job counselor at his adult school. He is also go to the library to read about different types of jobs. He wants to start his own business. Enrique likes fixing cars, so in the future, he are going to open an auto repair shop. But for now, he wants to get more experience as a mechanic. So, he is going to apply for a job at an auto repair shop near his home. Enrique's wife is also go to look for a job. She wants to open a child care business in their home. But first, she is going to getting a job at a daycare center. You want to read it one more time? Or do you want to read it yourselves? I'll read it one more time out loud and just listen. Don't read, don't look at this. Just listen and see what sounds strange to you. Okay? Alright. Enrique works in a factory. He works at night and takes English classes in the morning. He wants a new job. He going to talk to a job counselor at his adult school. He is also going to the library to read about different types of jobs. He wants to start his own business. Enrique likes fixing cars, So in the future, he are going to open an auto repair shop. But for now, he wants to get more experience as a mechanic. So he is going to apply for a job at an auto repair shop near his home. Enrique's wife is also go to look for a new job. She wants to open a child care business in their home. But first, she is going to getting a job at a daycare center. Okay. So maybe it would be better if we do this one together instead of individually, so we can talk through each sentence. Do you want to do it that way? Actually, I'll give you 2 minutes just to read through and see if you can find any ones that look wrong to you, and then we'll go over it together. How about that? So let's start with the first sentence. So, Enrique works in a factory. Does that sound correct?
Enrique works in a factory.
Mm-hmm. So here we've got a subject and we've got a verb. It's correct. So this is going to be a grammar heavy exercise. So I'm going to do a lot of grammar with this one. So to have a sentence, so to have a complete sentence in English and in Spanish, you have to have a subject and a verb. And that's all you need. So here we have Enrique works in a factory. Enrique is our subject and works is the verb in a factory. So it's a complete sentence. The verbs agree, Enrique works. So that one's correct. We don't need to change that one. He works at night and takes English classes in the morning. So what's our verb here?
Works.
Good. And there's one more verb in there.
Takes.
Very good. And what's our subject?
He.
Very good. Okay. So this is a complete sentence. He works. Sorry? Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Going to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Job council at his adult school. He is also good to he live to read about different types.
So let's go back. Thank you for reading all of that. That was good. So let's go back to he is going to talk to a job counselor. So that's our first correction, right? So this particular exercise wants us to work with this verb. To be going to. So I'm going to, you're going to, he is going to. So that's what this whole section is about. So we see going to talk, and we know we need a verb in front of it. Because he going to, we're missing a verb. So these are our verbs. So for he, is he singular or plural?
Singular.
So we're on this side of the chart,
Yes.
and he is first, second, or third person.
Third person.
Exactly. So he is going to. So that's how we know that we are missing a verb. Because if we read it, he going to talk to a job counselor at his adult school, it doesn't have a verb. And what do we need to make a sentence? A subject and a verb. So, alright, so that's correction number 1. They gave it to us. Alright, so I'll read the next sentence. He is also go to the library to read about different types of jobs. What do we think about this one?
It's fine.
Anna, what do you think?
Fine. And want he. So it's also to
Okay, so let's see.
It's
So
different.
yes, it is. So what's our subject here?
The subject is he.
He. Okay, so he we said is singular, and it's the third person.
The third person.
So do we have
Is.
Is in there?
Yeah.
It's different.
He is. Okay.
He is different than his.
So we have a complete sentence, which is good, but the verbs don't agree. So remember, we're working with this verb. Is going to. So he is also go to the library. So what should that be changed to?
Is it also going to?
Going, yes. So again, with this particular exercise, we're working with be going to. That's the verb we're working with here. That's what we're focusing on today. So we have our subject he. We have the verb is. He is going to the library. So we're talking about something in the
Going
future.
to
He's also going to the library.
Yes, that is correct. And the word also, if we took out also, it would be the same thing. He is going to the library. He is also going to the library. Also is an extra word. It makes it a little more complicated to read, but it is the same meaning with also and without also. Alright, he wants to start his own business. So what's our subject?
He
And the verb?
wants
want.
And there's one more verb in there too.
start.
Very good. Okay. And is there anything to change about this sentence?
No.
Correct, that is a correct
He
sentence.
he wants to start.
So our subject and our verb agree. So we have a correct sentence. Alright, Enrique likes fixing cars, so in the future, he are going to open an auto repair shop. So what's our subject here?
He
Very good. And the verb?
I'm going
fixing likes.
Likes is a verb, correct. Fixing is a form of a verb. So let's talk about the second part of the sentence. So in the future, he are going to open an auto repair shop. So what's our subject in the second part of the sentence?
He
Very good. The verb?
is
going to. All right, so right now it's written as this, he are, but he is here. He is singular and the third person. So singular, third person is. So what would you change that sentence to?
Are for is.
Very good. Okay, so Elizabeth, will you read the sentence correctly, please?
Enrique likes fixing cars, so in the future he is going to open an auto repair shop.
Excellent. Anna, does that make sense?
But for now, he want to get more experience in mechanics.
Okay, good.
So he is going to play for job at an auto repair shop near his home.
Okay, let's stop there. So,
It's
let's go back. Sorry, go ahead.
then he's going
Mm-hmm.
apply for job after reparation near his
So let's look at this
He
sentence.
is
Go ahead. Do you have a correction to make? All right, so let's walk through it. So with the sentence that begins, so he is going apply for a job, what is our subject?
He is going to apply.
So he is, yes, is our
He
subject.
is going to apply
So you're saying it right, yeah. So what are we missing in this sentence to make it correct? To. And where does the to go? Going to apply. Okay, Elizabeth, tell me why.
Because it's going is to es verbo
and
verbo to verbos is going to.
Mm-hmm. So we've got our two verbs back to back. And again, here, going to. So he
Two and
is.
one.
Mhm. So again, we call this the infinitive when it's in its to form, to apply. You don't really need to know that right now. But because we have two verbs back to back, that's how we know we have to have the to in the middle. Going to apply. Okay, good job. So Enrique's wife is also go to look for a job. What do we think? What's the subject of this sentence?
Enrique's wife.
Okay, so if we come over here, Enrique's wife, where is that singular
She.
or plural? She.
Single.
Porque es
Exactly, yep. So she. So we know it's going to be is. So does the verb is there? Enrique's wife is.
Is
So that's correct.
yes.
So our subject and our verb agree. Also go to look for a job.
Also
going
Yes,
going
going.
to
Going.
look for a
Mhm.
job.
Yes. Very good. So again, we can take out the word also. We can omit that. And it would say Enrique's wife is going to look for a job. It means the same thing as Enrique's wife is also going to look for a job. Okay. She wants to open a childcare business in their home. So what's our subject here?
She
she wants
Wants, and wants is the verb. So we have a complete sentence, subject and a verb. And are there any errors in this sentence? Does it sound correct to you?
in his no he her home. His.
Actually, there would be correct because they share the home. So you could put in her home, that would be correct. But we are talking about Enrique and his wife, so it's theirs. So this sentence is correct.
Together.
Exactly, together. All right, so for the last sentence, but first she is going to getting a job at a daycare center. So, who's our subject?
She.
She. Very good. So she agrees with is. Is that, yep. She is
She's
going to
give
getting a job.
Yeah.
So, what should we change about this sentence?
Getting.
Getting, yes. What would you change it to?
She's get. No. Go.
Mhm.
What? Okay.
Get.
Get.
Going
get-
to get.
Going to get a
going
job.
to get a job.
Mhm. And get is a really weird English word that we use a lot, but it doesn't really sound like a word sometimes.
Mhm.
Get. Going to get a job at a daycare center. Yes, so again, we have that
To get-
example of the two verbs. So in the sentence where we have going apply for a job, we added the to after going. So here we have going to getting. And so these words that end in ing,
Mhm.
like this, these are gerunds. Another grammatical term that you don't necessarily need to know. It's a type of verb, it's a form of a verb, but it's not an infinitive verb in the way that get is. So get is our infinitive. So getting is going to be our gerund form of the infinitive.
Mhm.
So all this to say, she is going to get a job. We don't want to have two ings with each other.
No.
Going to getting a job, not correct.
No.
So we need to have two different verb forms next to each
She's
other.
going to get.
So if we have two verbs, that are separated by the word to, they're not going to be the same form of the verb. So a sentence like, I am going to drinking the juice. Is that correct?
No.
What would it be instead?
I'm going to drink.
I'm going to drink the juice. So we have our, if we do an ing verb here, we're not going to do an ing here. And again, the more you listen and hear English, the more you don't need to know the rule. It'll sound strange to you eventually. I think it already does. You both seem to catch that one in the last sentence. Okay. Any questions? What questions do you have? This was a lot more grammar heavy than last week. So we're gonna take a little grammar break.
Grammar is a little hard.
But you did a really good job. I mean, these are complicated. But but the thing is that we use these words all the time in English. So this is very relevant to learning English.
Yes.
All right, so we can close the workbook for now. All right. So next we're gonna do some reading. So Elizabeth, you already started on the Trove, our reading excerpt for the day. So Anna, if you want to go to page 52. Elizabeth, how much have you read?
Done. I done.
You read the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And did you have any words that you didn't know? If you did, just underline them and we'll come back to them. So Anna, will you please read the first two paragraphs of the Trove? So starting with, have you ever seen a children's library? And ending with the sentence, there's even a theater for special performances like music. Do you see? So you read, let's see, I'll show you my book. So from here, this paragraph,
Okay.
and then just raise your hand when you're done. And Elizabeth, if you want to read through there and underline all the infinitive verbs. So all the verbs that are to plus a verb. And we'll just talk about those when we're done. Okay. Elizabeth, did you find some infinitives? Okay. Alright, so let's start. We're just gonna read this out loud and then we will take our break. So Anna, do you want to start with the first paragraph?
Have you ever seen children?
A children's.
Children that look like Disneyland in White Plain, New York. You will. That truth is magic plane, that magical plane that made children love going to the
Library.
library.
There you go. Elizabeth?
What makes the truth magical? The answer is easy. This library has a beautiful design and a special place to play in. In one corner of the library, children can sit inside a chair and read their favorite books. At the other end of the library, there is a dollhouse and a play kitchen. I want to angry.
Close, similar. The sounds are similar.
In the play cottage.
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 Mm-hmm.
Small children can listen to story in English and Spanish. There even a theater for special performs like music
Performances.
performances.
Good. And so the way we say this word is trove.
Throw,
Trove.
throw,
It's like saying truck.
throw.
Truck.
Trove.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Go ahead, Anna.
Are you ready to check out book and other material of the troubled children like adults? Can you have their own library card? Librarians help then check out book, DVD, CD, ROMs, and
Magazines.
magazines
Magazines.
to take home. They can return book when they down
They're done.
or if they want to keep the book longer they can renew them. They just need to come in or call the library. Sometimes they keep at the book too long. Long they then they have to pay fine. Kids can borrow a lot of things from the trouble at the one time. The limit is 15 items
Items.
item per card.
All right. So how we say this word is library. So
Library.
in Spanish, librería.
Library.
Yes. But we say I like the I. Library.
Library.
Yes. Very good. And that's the same sound in items. Items and library have the same I. Elizabeth, you want to read the last one?
Why was the throw made in the 1990s?
1990s.
1990s?
Mhm.
The White Plains Public Library had a small children's section. The library's director,
Mhm.
Sandra Miranda, wanted to make it a more exciting place for children to visit
Mhm.
the city, like her ideas,
Mhm.
and give the library money to build the trouble. And children are coming those days after school. You see children meeting their friends at the trouble
And that first word is these days after school.
these days.
This day.
Mhm. These days. Okay, Elizabeth, do you want to share some of the infinitives you found? The to followed by a verb? Remember I said to look for infinitives when you read it? Did you find any? If not, we can walk through it together.
To the library.
So nope, that one is actually, that would be a prepositional phrase, to the library. So let's see, the first one I found is in the third paragraph, to check out books. Are you ready to check out books? Check out is bolded. It's in the third paragraph. Third one down. Mm-hmm.
Check out.
Yep.
Check out.
So that's an infinitive. And then in the fourth paragraph, to keep the books. To keep. And then 2 lines down, we have to come. And then in the last paragraph, in the third sentence, place for children to visit. That's an infinitive. And then in the following sentence, the city liked her ideas and gave the library money to build the trove. To build is the infinitive. So that's just when you're reading, you can always be looking for different parts of speech, just to help improve your understanding or to help recognize different parts of speech in a sentence. But that one was just for fun. So, what questions do you have about this excerpt? Can you tell me what this is about? What it's talking about? The whole, what we just read, what place is it describing?
The library.
A library. And who is the library for?
The place is for reading a book. There is a more what is that? The word more attractive.
Yeah.
Attractive reading books for children.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly it. And what does the trove look like?
In the 90s, there is a small place for the children.
And how is if we walked into the trove right now,
Yeah.
what does it look like inside?
In the middle, like the library look like the chip, or the chip, and the other sides. The library looks like house door.
A dollhouse. Oh, perfect. Okay. And yeah, thank you. That sounds like you understood it. All right, it's break time. Go eat something, take a drink, take a break. We'll come back and do something not quite as grammatical, but really good job this morning. Good job. After our break, we're gonna do the eavesdropping exercise that we did last week. Do you remember this word?
Yes.
Eavesdropping. Did you use this word with anybody after the class? No. What was this in Spanish?
Está aquí, allá.
Exactly. Okay. So we're gonna be eavesdropping in on the citizenship class. So we're gonna do it for about 10 minutes, and you did so well with it last time. I want you to write not just any word that you hear, but a word with more than one syllable. So is, are, yes, no, you know those. You've got those down. So if they say a word like constitution, write something like that down. So we want more than one syllable. So how many syllables are in eavesdropping? Eavesdropping has 3 syllables. Eavesdropping. Okay, does it make sense what I'm asking for? Okay, so we're just gonna open the door. Just listen. Try to write. Exactly. When you hear Constitution, you will hear Constitution. So just write down. Go for 10 or 15 words, and write more if you can, and then we'll do something after that.
You must know how to spell Thanksgiving and write Thanksgiving, and you must know how to write November, Thanksgiving and November. So let's listen.
Page 102. Holidays and History. Thanksgiving.
Life was very difficult for the Pilgrims in the Plymouth colony. Many of them died during the first year. The Native Americans helped the Pilgrims. They taught the Pilgrims how to grow corn and other food. They taught them how to fish. They also helped them build houses. The Pilgrims wanted to give thanks for the many good things they had in America. they celebrated a holiday in the fall of 1621. They invited the Native Americans to a big dinner. The Native Americans brought most of the food. This holiday in the Plymouth colony is called the first Thanksgiving in America. Actually, the Native Americans already had celebrations like this one. Also, many people believe that the Jamestown colonists in Virginia celebrated the first Thanksgiving. Others believe that colonists in the areas that are now North Carolina, Florida, or Texas celebrated the first holiday. Americans still celebrate Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Day is on the fourth Thursday in November every year. Families come together and have a big dinner. They usually eat turkey, potatoes, corn, squash, and cranberries.
Not true anymore.
The Pilgrims and the Native Americans ate these foods at their celebration in
This page, 104.
Spend about 2 more minutes.
At the top it says, tell me one reason. Tell me. So this, you can listen to this, it's just different ways to ask the same question, right? So, we've already studied, can you tell me, can you tell me? Now, tell me one reason. Tell me one reason. Can you tell me? So just listen and get used to hearing it.
Page 104. Civics test. Tell me one reason.
Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived?
American Indians.
Tell me who lived in America before the Europeans arrived.
Native Americans.
Can you tell me who lived in America before the Europeans arrived?
American Indians.
3 ways to ask the same question. Now look
What
at
is
this one.
one reason colonists came to America?
What is one reason?
Freedom.
Tell me one reason colonists came to America.
Political liberty.
Give me.
Give me one reason colonists came to America.
Give me one reason.
Religious freedom.
Can you tell me one reason colonists came to America?
Economic opportunity.
All right.
Can you give me one reason
How was it?
to America?
You wrote down a lot of things. Okay, so why don't you take a minute and just go through and circle 15 words that you want to share, and we'll talk about them. So just pick 15 of the most interesting words that you've heard, just 15. circled 15 words? Or underlined 15 new words? No? Not yet? Okay, so are all the words you have on your paper words you heard in the other class?
No,
There.
I hear
Okay.
other class.
Okay, so did you go through and just circle them or underline them so we can share and I can write them on the board? Your new words? Does it make sense what I'm asking? If it's okay, if it's not. So, okay, so for example, one word that I heard was colonist. So I circled that. So I just saw that you have a lot of words written down. So I think it would be easier if you just go through and pick 15 that you want to share and we'll write them on the board so we can talk about them. Does that make sense? No?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We'll start with Thanksgiving. Yeah, she said that one about 20 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
More the time.
Thanksgiving. Also, you should check your spelling too to make sure or to see if you spelled them right. Alright. And yeah, Thanksgiving is always capitalized when we're talking about the holiday, but Thanksgiving as a word can also be, it's also a word that's not a holiday. When we talk about, it's usually in a religious sense, we talk about Thanksgiving, and it's a bit of a proper word, so people don't usually use that, but, so Thanksgiving is usually capitalized, capital T. Okay, Anna, what's a word you've heard?
Christmas?
Which one?
Christmas?
Christmas? Yep. Christmas. Oh, yes. Christmas. So again, the C is always capitalized for Christmas. Okay, Elizabeth, word. Colonies? Colonies. Do you know what colonies are? Can you tell me?
There's colonies come to America.
No.
What do you go?
So in the United States, before we had states, they were colonies.
13 colonies.
Exactly. You know. Okay. Anna, what do you have?
Freedom?
Freedom. Freedom. Yes, very patriotic word.
American Indian.
American Indians? What, say that again? What did you say?
American Indian.
American Indians.
Okay. So, this term, do you know another term for this group of people?
Colonies.
No, so American Indians can also be called
Oh, native.
Nativos.
Native Americans.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nativos.
Because the term Indians, do you know where we got the term Indians from? This is some American history. So, when Christopher Columbus sailed, he was looking for India, the country India. Have a map. The country of India, which is on the continent of Asia, so other side of the world. So when he landed here, he thought he had found India, so that's why the word Indians exists. But the more correct term is Native Americans, because they were here first. So, just a little bit of history. Alright, Anna, word?
Children's.
Children? Alright, so children, I've noticed when both of you say children, you sometimes add the S sound at the end for children's.
Children.
And so there is never,
Yes.
there is if it's possessive, like we're talking about the children's library, the library of the children, but children itself is already plural. So children, you could say child. Elizabeth, how many sentences do you have?
3.
3? Anna, how many sentences do you have?
3.
3? Are you done with all of them? You finished?
Next, the 6.
Okay. Oh, you're adding the words?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, how about, okay. Can I erase this? Are you still using them? Okay, Elizabeth, what is your first sentence?
We celebrate Thanksgiving on November.
Okay, is this what you wrote? Alright, so, one correction to make. One thing to change. So, with on, so as it's written here, this is not technically the right way to say it. In, yep. But you could also, if you're gonna say on November, you could say on November 27th. So, you would say either we celebrate Thanksgiving in November, or we celebrate Thanksgiving on November 27th, or on the third Thursday of November. Yeah. Alright, what's your next sentence?
We eat dinner on the table and we say thank you for everything in our lives.
Good sentence. We eat dinner on the table and we say thank you. For everything, what did you write?
On our lives.
Alright. So for this one, alright, so again with on. So for this, you could either say, we eat dinner at the table. Mm-hmm. We eat dinner at the table, and we say thank you for everything on our lives. So this would be, what would you change that to?
In.
In. Mm-hmm. In our lives. Mm-hmm. That's a good sentence. That's a very complex sentence. That's a good job. All right. What's your third sentence?
The American Indians celebrate the first Thanksgiving in 1621 with a big dinner.
And you said 1621 with a big dinner. Is that how you wrote it? Is that like right? All right. A good sentence as well, and would just be celebrated,
Celebrate.
because in the past. Very good sentences. All right, Anna, what do you have?
My family celebrates Thanksgiving together in my house.
Thanksgiving together. What did you say after this?
In my house.
In my house? is still correct.
Okay.
We celebrate together at my house or in my house. Good job.
My
What else?
brother visited in December El Salvador.
My brother.
Visit in December El Salvador.
Is that what you wrote? Did I write it?
Yeah.
Alright, so for this, are you talking about something in the past or the future? Is he going to visit or did he visit in the past?
The going to visit.
In the future, okay. So for this, we would say, so remember what we were talking about today earlier in class? Is going to visit, and then we would move El Salvador to here in December. So my brother is going to visit El Salvador in December.
Okay. Next month I go vacation in my family.
Next month,
I go on vacation. And family.
so next month I'm going on vacation. I'm going on vacation with my family. So next month I'm going on vacation with my family. So these are really good. So really, it looks like the only thing that is maybe room to work on are the prepositions,
Yeah, the purpose.
which are tricky. And,
Yes.
But that's okay. That's why we're here. All right. Good job. Good sentences. Okay. All right. So we're gonna do a little more listening now. I'm gonna read from this book, which I'm reading, called Mexican Enough, from the library. And I'm just going to read a few paragraphs, and I just want you to listen. You don't have to write anything. I just want you to listen, and we're gonna talk about the content of the book. Okay? So feel free to write words down if you want to, but you don't need to write everything I'm saying. Just listen. Okay, so for some context, this book is about this woman, Stephanie, who is Mexican American. Her mother is Mexican and her father is American. And she grew up in Texas. And she goes back to Mexico to try to connect with her Mexican family, her Mexican heritage. So that's what this is about. And she's a journalist. So. Okay. The final sun of 2004 is setting over Mexico City International Airport. Strangers wish one another and me a próspero año nuevo, or prosperous new year. Arriving today is strategic. I want to spend the whole of 2005 here, ancestor seeking. My whole body quivers. Everyone crowds around the conveyor belt to catch whatever spits out of the chute. I tend to fill my carry-ons with notebooks and laptop accessories, leaving underwear and toothbrushes to fate, and recognize the shortcomings of this system as the passenger clump thins and the luggage flow tapers. I catch the eyes of a Mexican man waiting on the opposite side of the conveyor belt with his arms folded across his chest. His face has weathered to near leather, and his Astros baseball cap is backwards. We exchange smiles. Just then, a siren goes off. The conveyor belt halts with a jolt. No more baggage. Our eyes meet again and trade a thought. Damn. We join the human swarm around the airport with a clipboard. The employee scribbles our names on a scrap of paper and tells us to return mañana. And even I know that mañana doesn't mean tomorrow, but sometime in the future, maybe. Moreover, I'm not staying here tonight, but catching a bus to a city 125 miles away. I scan the baggage claim area for someone more official, but there are only other attendants with clipboards. Astros man approaches me with his palms raised skyward. Ni modo, he says, then exits through the sliding glass doors. Cultural anthropologists have written reams about the significance of this phrase, which loosely translates to, it can't be helped, or there is nothing to be done. Somewhere along the past 5 centuries of religious and political oppression, they note, Mexicans accepted the fact that life was utterly beyond their control. Fires, floods, earthquakes, illnesses, ni modo, that's God's doing. There's no changing that. Revolutions, tax hikes, peso devaluations, ni modo, that's the government. Can't do much about that either. Lost luggage? Ni modo, that's a Continental Airlines problem. At least the plane landed safely. Gracias a Dios. Hoisting my laptop on my back, I head through the sliding glass doors. Mobs of families crowd behind them. Spanish eyes, Mayan noses, Olmec faces. And then, off in the distance, a glimpse of salt and pepper hair tucked beneath an orange ski cap. My friend Greg. We've known each other since the movies, where we went to the mall in Corpus Christi, Texas. A visual artist, he has spent much of the past decade in Mexico, painting, teaching, and traveling. In an email a few months ago, he offered me his room in Querétaro, a state capital smack in Mexico's center, as soon he'll be leaving for an artistic residency in Spain. Querétaro has a good language school, he wrote, plus none of his roommates, who are 3 Mexican artists, speak English. I eagerly accepted. Okay. So, what did you understand from this?
A little.
A little. So let's talk about the basics of a story. So, who's the main character? Yes, I don't think I actually told you her name. It's Stephanie.
Stephanie.
But so the narration was from the first person point of view. So she was using words like I, my, we. Did you hear that? So we have, this is our narrator, and where is she? What country is she in?
Texas.
No. She just landed in the airport
And then Mexico. Querétaro.
in Mexico. And where is she traveling to in Mexico?
Querétaro.
Yes. And tell me what you understood. What did you, any part of it? What she was wearing, what she was carrying, what she thought, anything you understood.
She's thinking about the flies and the money, the balloon.
Devaluing the peso.
Yeah.
So she was talking about ni modo, the phrase ni
Yeah.
modo. So tell me, you're from Mexico. Do you use the phrase ni modo? Is that a phrase you use?
Yeah.
And how do you use it?
When I the things is not what I think. Passing.
When-
Passing.
So are you saying when something doesn't happen the way you wanted it to?
Yeah.
Ni modo? It's like this,
Yeah.
right?
And a mess.
Yeah. It's It's the same for him. It's okay. It's okay.
It's an, like, don't worry
Yeah.
about it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is it the same in El Salvador? Do you
Yeah.
use ni modo? Yeah, same. Does it have the same meaning?
Mi modo en El Salvador, dólar.
Dólar.
Dólar y la pipa. No, diferente.
Okay, so what she was talking about, ni modo, was she lost her luggage. Her bags on the airplane, she lost them.
Yeah.
So she was saying, ni modo, I can't do anything about it. Okay, what did you understand, Anna? What did you hear?
The backpack, the laptop,
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yep.
the badge
Mm-hmm.
in the airport.
Yes, she was saying in her carry-on bag, she normally just puts her laptop and her electronics in, but she doesn't ever pack underwear
Mhm.
or a toothbrush.
Yes.
So she's more focused on her laptop than her clothes. Okay.
And Corpus Christi is different things.
They stay in the mall in Corpus
Uh-huh.
Yes.
with
Yeah.
her friend.
Her friend. Yes. That's where she met her friend at the mall years ago in the past.
And then she stayed in the hotel in Querétaro.
Yes.
Querétaro.
Yep. That's where she was traveling from Mexico City to Querétaro.
They know roommates. Only 3 people talking English.
Yeah, her three who don't speak English.
Not speaking English.
Yeah, they only speak Spanish.
Ah.
Yeah.
Speak Spanish.
Because she's learning Spanish, so
Yeah.
her friend was saying, oh, this will work really well because they don't speak English, you have to speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. All right, good job. I know it's a bit difficult to just drop into a book
Yeah.
and understand it, but it sounds like you understood a lot of it.
For me, I can see the words for I understand.
Yes, which is why this is so challenging. It's
Yeah.
just to hear and
Yeah.
listen. But you're doing a great job with it. And that'll make your reading even better when you read a book. Okay, so for the last listening exercise, you're gonna be writing again, but it'll be it'll be like what we did last week. So I'll read an excerpt from your textbook, and then you will write down what you hear. So I'll read it several times at different speeds, and then we'll review it. Okay, ready? Okay, so I'm gonna read it the first time at a normal speed. I'll read it a second time slightly slower, and a third time I'll read it very slow. And then we'll repeat again. So I'll read it a total of 6 times to you. Alright. I'm from Mexico. My eating habits are different here, especially the things I eat for breakfast. Very early in the morning, we always used to eat a light breakfast with sweet bread and coffee. Later in the morning, we had a bigger breakfast, usually an egg dish. Now I eat only one breakfast. I can't find pan dulce here, so I hardly ever eat it. I eat white bread instead. Okay, I'll read this one a little bit slower.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Mexico. My eating habits are different here, especially the things I eat for breakfast. Very early in the morning, we always used to eat a light breakfast with sweet bread and coffee. Later in the morning, we had a bigger breakfast, usually an egg dish. Now I eat only one breakfast. I can't find pan dulce here, so I hardly ever eat it. I eat white bread instead. Alright, this time I'm gonna read very slow. I'm from Mexico. My eating habits are different here, especially the things I eat for breakfast. Very early in the morning, we always used to eat a light breakfast with sweet bread and coffee. Later in the morning, we had a bigger breakfast, usually an egg dish. Now, I eat only one breakfast. I can't find pan dulce here, so I hardly ever eat it. I eat white bread instead. Okay, so that was round one, so we're gonna go through one more time. I'm gonna read it normal, slower, and then very slow, and then we'll see what you have. Can you hear me okay over the noise outside?
Yes.
Yeah. Anna, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
You can hear me. Alright, starting from the beginning. I'm from Mexico. My eating habits are different here, especially the things I eat for breakfast. Very early in the morning, we always used to eat a light breakfast with sweet bread and coffee. Later in the morning, we had a bigger breakfast, usually an egg dish. Now I eat only one breakfast. I can't find pan dulce here, so I hardly ever eat it. I eat white bread instead. Alright, so I'm gonna read it again, a little bit slower. I'm from Mexico. My eating habits are different here, especially the things I eat for breakfast. Very early in the morning, we always used to eat a light breakfast with sweet bread and coffee. Later in the morning, we had a bigger breakfast, usually an egg dish. I can't find pan dulce here, so I hardly ever eat it. I eat white bread instead. Okay. I'm going to read it one more time in the slowest speed. And then we'll check and see what you have. Alright. I'm from Mexico. My eating habits are different here, especially the things I eat for breakfast. Very early in the morning, we always used to eat a light breakfast with sweet bread and coffee. Later in the morning, we had a bigger breakfast, usually an egg dish. Now, I eat only one breakfast. I can't find pan dulce here, so I hardly ever eat it. I eat white bread instead. Okay. So, if you want to put the finishing touches on it, and then if I can just take your notebooks for a second and read over them. Let's see. Alright. So let's see. So first sentence. I am from Mexico. Great. You both got that one down. My eating habits. Actually, you know what? I'll just write this. Would it be more helpful to write it on the board? Would that be helpful to see?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm from Mexico. My eating habits are different here, especially the things I eat for breakfast. Very early in the morning, we always used to eat a light breakfast, comma. Usually an egg dish.
With sweet bread, no? And coffee?
That's coming.
Later?
Oh,
No, it's not.
you were right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oof. Testing my reading and writing abilities. Used to eat a light breakfast.
Mhm.
Thank you. With sweet bread and coffee. morning, we always used to eat a light